Dr. Joel, I wanted us to discuss this thing that happened in Edo State some days ago, or nearly a week now. It's certainly not, you did a podcast on it, but it doesn't seem to be a new thing. It does appear that with the demonstrable weakness exhibited by Nigerian security agencies, you increasingly have situations where people, this type of mishap will happen because communities are defending themselves from bandits, from people, kidnappers, and so forth. And so this does not appear to be something that is one-off, but it appears to have attracted more attention than any other killings, mass killings of late. Why would you think this is so?
First, why do we even have the vigilantes? It's just it's a systematic way of saying that the state has failed in its primary responsibility to provide security, because the Constitution says the primary responsibility of government, that's the reason why government exists, is to ensure the security and welfare of the citizens. And over the years, we've seen that the state has failed woefully in this regard. And the debate about state policing, anytime it comes up, it has also failed woefully. And to find a way around the debate or the discourse of state policing, the states have now resorted to vigilante. And when you have vigilante, people who are half trained, do not have the basic training in terms of security and how to handle security issues, and besides, you have issues like this happening. And besides, even the issue of vigilante is even carrying out, staying on state and federal road, I think it's even unconstitutional. Now, the rise of vigilante started when we had rampant insecurity, or not insecurity, armed robbery and theft in the southeast. 1999, 2000, when you had spate of robberies and bank robberies and the rest in the southeast. Under the Unbundling, they set up the Anambra Vigilante Service, and at the end of the day, they left the primary reasons why they were created, and they entered into politics and getting people arrested arbitrarily. So let's come down to what happened in Uromi. I think the matter can be looked at in different folds. But since we are discussing the issues of vigilante, I think at all levels there's been a complete collapse of the security situation in Nigeria. I think I said something 2 days ago about what we do in Nigeria is cosmetic governance, cosmetic policy making, cosmetic policy implementation, and that includes security. When things happen, that is when the government will sit up and pay each other visits. At the end of the day, everybody goes back to normal. Nobody wants to look at the root cause of the issues and to proactively ensure these things will not happen again. So, at the end of the day, whatever happened in Uromi is highly regrettable and unfortunate. But this is, if you look at, because for everything that happens, there's always a remote and immediate cause of the problem. The immediate cause of the problem is that the people did not involve the state, the constitutionally recognized security agents. Even if they found these things, they should have taken them to the police to ask, do you have licenses for all of these? Do you have licenses for the weapons you are carrying and all of that? Now, the remote cause of the problem is the one everybody has failed to address. Nobody is talking about it. The remote cause, one, the failure of state and federal government to ensure security and welfare of the people. Secondly, the failure of the federal government or whoever controls the police to prevent repeated attacks, and because there have been cries upon cries of people. Funny enough, 2 weeks before that time, there was serious protest by women in Ondo State, in Ebonyi, about the atrocities committed by these same Fulani herdsmen in this area. Over 30 women were killed and raped. Women shouted, block the road. Nobody listened to them. Not even the local government chairman listened to them. Now, that's why I say what we do in Nigeria is just cosmetic policy implementation and cosmetic governance. So when they just romance issues, everybody goes this way. Early few years ago, there was also this same site of killing in Plateau State, in Benue State. People were buried in mass grave. Condemnations will follow each other. At the end of the day, everybody goes back to normal. Nothing will be done. So these are, for me, the rise of vigilante. In as much as they are working, but I think they need they need to put some sort of define their role. If we want them to stay, fine. If we don't want them to stay, but that doesn't mean that the killings by headers will stop. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, friend, someone sent me a video not long ago, showing women in Bokos local government area of Plateau State crying. There have been some attacks and killings there of late, and there are also, like you mentioned, problems from Benue State and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, I have always argued that the Nigerian security apparatus, that is, the agencies that make up Nigerian security system, too small for the size of the country that we have. And my take is that if you look at the country today, I don't think we have up to 1 million people that are in the military services that you can call out to. And in any case, the military should not be ordinarily involved in the type of things that they do in Nigeria, keeping roadblocks to maintain internal security. Even though, as you very well know, the definitions and security has changed over the years. The definition of war has changed. And a lot of the conflicts that we've had until the recent conflict between Russia and Ukraine have been internal conflicts, very convulsive, sometimes much more violent than even interstate conflicts. But beside that, if you look at the police, I don't think we have up to 500,000 policemen on the streets of Nigeria for a population of they say we're 250 million.
We have no idea how many we are in Nigeria.
And so it is not possible. And then you have this issue that you mentioned, which I don't particularly agree with it, the issue of state police. You have state police come up. I have not been part of, I've always been opposed to, and anytime I have the opportunity, I'll vote against what you call state police. For three reasons. The first place is that you don't have any form of democracy at the state. Even though the Nigerian police force is today not controlled by governors, but at every state, in the country, police report to the governors, and any person the governors don't like, the police will take him and go and jail him. There are many journalists and social media activists that will tell you that they've suffered what they've suffered in the hands of the police, presumably at the behest of governors. So imagine if the governors will have access to policemen. The second thing where I don't particularly think that is something that I'll go for is the fact that if you look at the state governments are unable to pay salaries of their workers. They cannot pay minimum wage. They say there is no money. And we have 774 local government areas in the country. to be able to have the required number of policemen in a state that will be effective, in my opinion, each local government will need at least 200 to 300 policemen. If you take the smallest of the states that has 8 local government areas, you will see that, I think that is Bayelsa, you see that you are going to add about 1,600 to 2,400 people to the wage bill of Bayelsa. If currently Bayelsa has, for instance, has a staff strength of 2 million, I don't know the statistics, and they have difficulty in paying salaries, imagine what will happen if you add, say, 2,500, 2,300 or 1,800 to the wage bill. And these are people that you are going to train with arms, the use of arms, and then you bring them, they don't have salary. You are going to have confusion that you cannot be controlled. My third reason why I don't think that it's a good idea for now to have what people call state police is the fact that if you look at the governance of Nigeria at the local levels, at the state levels, you have a situation where the rule of law, due processes don't exist. The purse of the state belongs to the governor. We've had evidence, and at least a governor has been imprisoned for collecting a check from the federal government as part of what they call ecological funds and paying into his personal or company account. And that is why in almost every state in the country today, you have a situation where whenever local government elections are called, it is only the party that is in power that wins. And the only exception is the case of Kwewum, where after the result was announced, in order not to disgrace the embattled Senate president, the government of Kwewum State went and declared the APC candidate winner. And that is the only place in Nigeria today that an opposition party has a chairman of a local government. So if due process is completely absent and the state houses of assemblies work at the behest of the governors, imagine what will happen if such powers is given to the states. And I think also that going forward, in order to solve the security challenge, we need to increase security personnel by maybe 2, 3, 4-fold than we have today.
I think, yes. I wanted to come to that issue about the recruitment. You see, everything in Nigeria is politicized. Everything, as long as it's coming from the government, it is politicized, including recruitment into the police force. We saw what happened during Buhari, when they were going to recruit, was it 10,000 policemen through the constabulary or whatever, the rank and file. And we saw what happened between the Nigerian National Police Commission and the IG of police at the time. The police commission said that the law requires that they do that. The IG said, no, I was not carried along. The conflict, all this because they want to put names and everything in there. And I think for us to get it right when it comes to this policing of a thing is there has to be deliberate law every year as the budget is enacted, as they are bringing out the appropriation act for every year. It should be included by the Ministry of Police Affairs that every year we must recruit at least 50,000 across board, across the 36 states of the Federation, at least 50,000. Every year we must recruit at all levels. Every year there must be people. And, these things that IG come every year and said, I would say, policemen guarding VIPs should leave. These things, they're not even enforceable. Because the other day I saw a video of the president's son. The policemen and the DSS, following the president's son alone, can manage a community, can be stationed in the community, and bet you the crime level in a particular community that's marked as a hotspot, the crime level will reduce. But of course, we have more people following the VIPs. And another problem I think that is happening to this inadequacy of security forces is what I would describe as psychophancy by some technocrats or people who are close to the president. I'm not sure they're telling the president the actual fact about what is happening in Nigeria. Because otherwise, if the president actually gets, the true fact about things, about the situation in the country, I don't think things would have deteriorated to this level in terms of security. And the fact that this issue of ghost workers, I read sometime 2 years ago, reliable information. I read that and I was really shocked that even the number we see as the number of policemen and women we have in Nigeria, there's still over 100,000 less from what we actually see on ground. That the remaining are more or less ghost workers. They only exist on paper, but they're not there on ground, just because some people, and from that thing I read, the top hierarchy of the police force, they are aware. They are aware of what is happening. Even with the digitalization of the salaries and the rest of them, they've still found a way. And this is in connivance with people in the Ministry of Finance, the top hierarchy in the police force, and what have you. So they know these things that are happening. There are ghost policemen. There are people who are on file as inspector, ASP, but we don't have them in reality. So these checks are not even there. So I think right now what we need is a total overhaul. We need somebody who will sit down and say, look, there has to be a shift from the status quo, and there has to be a total overhauling. That means I still believe in as much as the way Nigeria is right now, there are still people with impeccable pedigree that they can bring them from outside the system to say, 7 of you, 10 of you, your primary assignment for the next 1 year is to sanitize the Nigerian security system. We're not probing how much have been spent. Let's see that one has. Now we have to sanitize the system. We want to know what are we not doing right, given that we have this amount of police, DSS, NIA, and NSCDC, but the security challenges in the country is still these people will be independent. They will sit down and come up, and we need to have that leader that will have the political will to say, okay, what these people have brought out, not the issue of the set up Rasai report and waste report and just be pinching it to implement. This time around, there has to be, because what we're doing, we are playing with the lives of people. This issue that has happened in Uromi is an eye-opener of the rot that's taking place, because we understand from some other videos I saw, because I tried to do some findings, I saw that there were policemen there close to where that thing happened, and even the head of the vigilante was a former commissioner of police. This is just, so we need to have people that will say, okay, we have to sanitize this system, we have to overhaul it. We've had this system for decades and it has not paid off. We need to find out what needs to be done, because most societies we see.
Talking about what is to be done, one of the things that you said that is interesting is that we need to sanitize and so forth. I think that as it is now, Nigeria, in my opinion, operates one of the most opaque and one of the oldest police system around the world. I don't know about Portugal where you are living, but I do know that from the UK where we borrowed or where we are handed over an Inspector General of Police that has an operational command of 350,000 men, does not exist in the United Kingdom. It does not exist in most part of Europe, and certainly it does not exist in the United States or even in other parts of the world. And I think that what we need to do, because even some of the challenges that we've had in the fight against insurgency, was the fact that whenever the military went and took over a place, retrieved a place or captured a place from the bandits, the civil forces to take over that place and hold it was not available. Like you said, maybe because the police were too involved, quite a large number are involved in VIP protection. And if you look at the system that operates in several parts of the world, apart from the fact that we need higher number, like I said, a country like Germany, some years ago, I think 2019 or so, or 18, when I went there for an official function, I found out that with a population of 80 million people then, Germany had about 400 in total, both the federal and all other types of police had about 400,000 policemen to 80 million people. And here in Nigeria, as at that time, we presumably had about 350,000 policemen to 200 and over 200 million people. And if you also check, there's some statistics that are found online, policing index and the rest of them. Nigeria is one of the countries that has so few. The ratio between armed security men to civilian population is one of the lowest in the world. And besides, so I think effectively it will be important, for instance, to have something like 2 to 3 million policemen on the streets of Nigeria. And then these policemen, in my opinion, cannot be under the command of one person. We need to separate the traffic police from other types of police.
Yes,
the
it
traffic
has to be
police,
decentralized. Yes.
The traffic, they call it police, but it is you deconstruct it in such a way that it is only involved in traffic matters. I will not go to arrest somebody outside. Then we might need VIP. That's VIP protection. Oil companies and big companies have access to policemen. And there was a time at when I was in the House of Representatives that it was taught and it was brought at one of the discussions that the oil companies usually paid money to the police for the services that and this money does not get
they're not remitted to the government.
It doesn't get budgeted. Even state governments give money to police, and that money that they give to police does not show up in the year-to-year budget of the police. So it becomes a problem. But you could set up, if people who have money are interested, you set up a VIP section of police. They have VIP protection. You can put 1 million people there. Anyone can go and hire them to protect his house or anywhere. That becomes a service that is controlled.
And the revenue to the government.
And revenue to the government and to the police. And those people cannot be found controlling traffic. Like you see, people, policemen following VIPs. They will beat traffic, they will go and beat people, hit cars, and so you cannot do that. And then you need police that will be investigating serious crimes, and those police cannot be found to be doing other things. So if you unbundle the police this way, you will not have one IGP that controls police. In the United Kingdom, I know
Yes,
you have they have different geographical areas have their police, and the police, I think they respond to the secretary. Is it the secretary or whatever they call him? Somebody who is a minister report to him directly. So there is no one IGP. So you will not have one person sitting in the IGP's office or so, now influencing what happens in an area that he doesn't know. So you will reduce the corruption, and people will be. And one of the things that I think some of the complaints that the governors talk about have that when they want to give instruction, the instructions are not followed, so they want to have a police of their own. Now, imagine a scenario where State A or State B are having boundary problems, and the governor of State A gives instruction to his policemen. Governor of State B gives a contrary instruction. You are now going to have policemen from the state going to shoot guns at each other. So it will be better to have police like we used to have before. Strengthen the anti-riot police, what we call mobile police. They are on standby to go and bring order, calm down situation, pacify an area if the conventional police that are supposed to be involved in those things in communities are unable to do it. In that way, you are not going to have role conflicts, and you are not going to have a situation where somebody just wakes up, he says, and decides to do what he wants to do and endangers every person. And it is in this it is because of this weakness that we had what you call the civilian JTF emerged from the northeast, principally Borno State, where they were following the military to enter the bush to go and fight bandits. And if, I mean, that is an admission that there is a weakness somewhere, and the weakness cannot be taken care of the way we are going. Because if we attack this problem the same way we've been attacking it over the years, the problem will keep expanding. It's not going to decrease.
Absolutely. We really need to rejig the Nigerian security architecture. Like in the UK, there's a department of policemen. Their only job is just like the equivalent of the mobile police we have in Nigeria. The regular policemen on the street, they do not carry weapons. They just carry maybe electric shocker or stuff like that. The ones with the weapons, if there's a need for them, that's when you see them on the streets. I think we need to do the same in Nigeria. And now we are in a digital age. I think Nigeria has the financial wherewithal to embrace, just like what you have in Dubai and a lot of European countries. And then some people will ask, on the streets of, I've been to some countries in Europe here, and you hardly find policemen on the street, except there's a need for them to be on the street. But that doesn't mean policing is not going on. They're using taking advantage of the artificial intelligence and the digital age to police the entire community. Because you'll be surprised, something just happens, and the response time is 2 minutes. In Dubai they have the fastest time. I think it's around 2 minutes. In some other countries, 3 minutes. You'll be surprised. How did they get wind of the whole thing? I think we need to embrace that, considering that our population is growing so rapidly, and the fact that we have so many ungoverned spaces and so many vast areas. We can deploy. You won't believe that the Nigerian police force, I can bet you, do not have a functional or quite a good number of drones that will just be there on the sky monitoring whatever is happening from close to 2,000, 3,000 meters away from the ground. We don't have all of these things in Nigeria. So that's what I keep saying. We just do this cosmetic thing, just do it on paper. Oh, the IG is there, DIG is there, and then you see an IG or DIG of police. He has a very big stomach. You'll be wondering what's the difference between him and one policeman. If there's a gunshot around his office, he might even die of high blood pressure, because he's not fit. So I think we need to really rejig the security, because if you study failed state as a concept of failed state, if you look at perspectives around failed state, you find that one of the elements of a failed state is when the means of coercion doesn't only lie in the hands of government, because we have too many people now with weapons in their hands in Nigeria as a whole. So apart from the constitution that seemed to be working, if you want to put these things into account, like what you have in Somalia and the rest of them, Nigeria can be termed a failed state, because we have too many. The bandits, what they do, they say, oh, the military will just go there and then they take videos and take pictures. We don't need all of that. We don't need all of that. They just ended the fasting. And then we saw in some bushes, some bandits holding Eid prayers with their weapons, with rocket launchers, weapons, with their bikes, holding Eid prayers in different locations. So that means Nigeria is more or less like a parallel state. We have people who can muscle modern weapons, and then we have the Nigerian security forces on one side. So if we are unable to reduce this thing to the barest minimum, because in every society these things exist, but if it is so rampant, like what we have in Nigeria, that you have 25 people say they are coming from Port Harcourt with guns, Dane guns in their hands, it shows that the system has collapsed. So we really, really need to rejig the system. In those days, I used to know that if you are not up to the rank of, I think, a sergeant or inspector, something like that, you are not allowed to carry weapons. But this day, you see an ordinary recruit with no single thing on his body. He has AK-47, and then there's something going around now in the social media about a policeman who's emotional about what happened in Edo, and he's saying that they just found out now that he's in one of the commands in Kaduna. It's a police officer saying that he's going to, how do we have elements like that? Because they have politicized the system. So if we have to rejig the system, get people who are outside the system, people who with impeccable, pedigree. Let's just do a total overhaul of the system. We can just look for one of these countries in Europe and just borrow, what they have done.
Yeah, I think we need to run off. But to borrow, you might not be able to just borrow, because
not really borrow per se.
Conditions.
Yes.
Yeah. There are some things that, like the issue of people arms. Some studies, I think, had shown that there were about, is it 50 or 500 million small arms, arms and light weapons circulating in West Africa, and then about
that one is
70% of them are in Nigeria, and now we are talking about. So it's really frightening that we have so much arms outside the outside the direct control of the state,
of non-state actors, and that issue of arms and arms proliferation.
From what has happened in Uromi, and I believe that there are a lot of such cases, it's just possible that many more those arms could fall into the hands of wrong people, and only the danger is that that introduces another concept which I think we might need to discuss if we have time tomorrow. There appears to be what some people have called the marginalization of the state in Nigeria or Africa, that the state is becoming so weak that not in the context, also inclusive of the context of saying that states are fragile and weak, but that increasingly the state is becoming almost irrelevant in the lives of people. Like in Nigeria, people provide their social services. People provide their security. And so where is the state?
Yeah, I've always said that in Nigeria, the average Nigerian is a local government to himself, because he provides his. In Nigeria, I pay security, I pay for water. Lots of people now have solar panels in their houses, have generators. Now, these are the essential services that would have been provided by government. Now, people have not taken the governance, this welfare thing into their own hands and providing it. And what is the government doing? And every day we hear billions have been appropriated. And there's one question Nigerians are not asking. I think Nigerians, they just get carried away by so many things. Nigerians don't even ask, what is the level of budget implementation every year in Nigeria? Nigerians don't even ask these questions. They just see that the appropriation bill has been signed by the president. They don't even know how it operates. They don't even know when funds are released.
Wouldn't that be as a result of the fact that Nigerians don't pay taxes? We're getting money from oil. That's why governors come to line up in Abuja. They do FAQ, they collect the money, and so it's nobody's money.
Everybody goes his way. Tragic.
Yeah, it's nobody's money. Okay, it's been nice speaking with you. Maybe we'll keep having this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Yeah.